Hi guys, welcome to Wasted Lunch. Today's day 3 of Cannibal Week. Yeah. Today I'm in the jungles of Amazonia. Yes, that's right, I'm in the Amazon. And what savages I've met. But for a twist, the savages this time around are not the tribal people, no. No, actually I met some tribes, the Yanomamo and the Shemataris, and they actually gave me a haircut and a shave. So yes, the local tribes have been very friendly to me. Even hooked me up with a bow here for hunting. So, what's up, Sean? Good afternoon. Yes, the real savages I met in the Amazon jungle are the so-called civilized people. Those are the real savages today. Okay. Let me show you what I watched, and in good old backwards vision, Cannibal Holocaust. Okay. Now this DVD is actually was a limited edition thing there, and it's numbered. You know, there's 11,111 made. I have 6,500, number 6,564 of this limited edition. All right. So, anyways, I can't remember. I can't remember if I ordered it online or not. But I watched it recently. It's been years since I've watched it, and Sean says, "Don't eat their meat." Yeah, I haven't watched this movie for a few years, and then I rewatched it because of Cannibal Week. Okay. And the savages in this movie are definitely modern men who go into the Amazon to document primitive cultures, right? Now, oh boy, this movie, wow, I don't know where to begin except, let's see, there were 1, 2, 3, I think 4 or 5. 4 documentary filmmakers went into the Amazon, and I can't remember. I don't think they're college students or whatever. Sean says the ending was brutal. Yes, it was. The premise of the film is that these young filmmakers went into the Amazon to document primitive tribes and never came out. Okay. So a professor of anthropology from New York is sent down there to get some local help and go into the jungle and try and find these youngsters. You know, they're in their 20s. So that's his job, is to go into the rainforest and find them and see what the heck's happened to them. So this, the actor who plays, let me see if it says character's name. I don't think it even says the character's name here. A professor who's sent down there is played by Robert Carmen. Okay, who's actually known for making adult films. Okay, that gives you an idea as to the talent assembled for this film. Okay, Robert Kerman heads up the cast as this professor of anthropology going down to the Amazon to find these kids. All the young filmmakers are actually unknowns, and that was intended. Okay, Ruggiero Diodato, if I'm getting his name right, Actually, Wanted Unknowns. I gotta close my door. It sounds like my dog's gonna carry on. Hold on a second. Alright, that's enough. Okay, I'm back. Jero actually wanted Unknowns because he wanted this film to be played off in the following fashion, in which I'll explain. So the professor goes down to the Amazon to go searching for these young people who were lost or never came out of the jungle. He finds a tribe. He finds clues that lead to where these kids were at in filming, and it starts looking like their interactions with the native tribes were not good. Okay, it starts looking like they were up to some bad stuff. Okay, they were not very respectful of these tribes down there in the rainforest, is how it starts looking. Now, the professor ends up finding remains of these young filmmakers in the Amazon, and runs into a tribe. I believe it's the Yanomamo tribe, the tree people, as they're known, who are a cannibal tribe. Okay, he finds them, and it seems that the chief of the tribe has some film cans on him. Okay, which, of course, the professor, is like, okay, there's the film that these kids were shooting, and he wants to get the film, but this dude, the chief, is not willing to part with it. So the professor pulls a trick where he's got a small tape recorder, and when the chief is doing some sort of ceremony and chanting and stuff, the prof ends up recording him, and then later on plays it back for the whole tribe to hear, which makes the tribe feel that he has magical powers. And anyways, he ends up convincing them to give him the film, okay, to take back to the States. Now, like I said, certain things happen. They run into different villages and different tribes that seem to be traumatized by whatever happened with their interactions with these young filmmakers who were down there. But the professor gets a hold of these film cans and makes it back to the United States. Okay, and while the film is being developed, of course there are people who are wanting to show this film on TV. They figure it's going to be hot stuff. It's going to bring in the bucks and the ratings by throwing together this assembled found footage. Okay, and very much this movie had to have been an inspiration for the Blair Witch Project, no doubt in my mind. Okay, this had to have been definitely one of the inspirations with the found footage from these filmmakers. Well, as the film is being developed, roll by roll, we're privy to seeing the film as it's being developed and what's showing up. And it turns out that these filmmakers, these young people who went down to the Amazon, are clearly exploiting these native people. Sean says the youngsters weren't the smartest. No, they weren't. And they were cocky, they were arrogant, and what they were doing was they were going around these native tribes, and since they weren't getting the dramatic, exciting film footage they wanted to get, they started prodding and manipulating and doing bad things to these native peoples to get them to do things okay, to create dramatic film footage. Okay, and the things they did to these indigenous peoples uh, went beyond bad, went beyond terrible what they did to these indigenous so-called savage peoples. What these modern civilized people did to these native people were terrible, okay? They rounded up, they had guns with them, they scared them all into a hut and set the hut on fire and filmed it, pretending that this tribe was being attacked by another tribe. Okay, they were pretending they were filming an attack or a raid on one village by another tribe. Okay, when that's not what was happening. They terrified these people into a hut and set it on fire with them being in the hut. Horrible, terrible stuff. Little boy has a pig tied up that, is obviously intended for food someday, and one of the idiot filmmakers goes up and shoots the poor pig point blank. It's horrible stuff. It's terrible. They terrorize these people, is what happens. And it's despicable. And the things that end up happening in the film with the violence committed against the indigenous peoples just capture sensationalist footage is terrible. So, like I said, this time for me in the jungle, the real savages are people from my world. These hotshot filmmakers from NYC or wherever. It's awful. It's often coined, just like the case says, most controversial movie ever made, and that was arguably true. And this movie has all of the graphic staples that typify the Italian cannibal movie of the 70s and 80s. This was shot in 1980. Let me see if it says, doesn't say the running time on the back here. I don't know. I'm guessing an hour and a half. This edition of it I have is actually a 2-disc set. One with the feature film, the other one with nothing but all kinds of extras and goodies, if you want to call them that. But yeah, you've got the animal violence that is so controversial and disgusting, but really, truly, one of the most disgusting things that happens in this film is the exploitation by modern man upon these indigenous people. That is where the true horror and terror and disgust comes in, because what they do is terrible to these people. So by the time you find out what these filmmakers were doing, or at least me, you're actually rooting for the savages, okay? Because these people go way far. They assault these people. Scaring them into a hut and burning it with them in it is only one of the things they do. A lot of the people escape the hut, but they're terrified. They're traumatized. That's only one of the things they do. They get a hold of a local native woman and bad things with her, which, I'm not going to go into detail about that. You can only imagine. They're filming people dying and exploiting it, like in this picture here. They say that the old people go off to, when they feel they're going to die, they leave the village and go out of the village and find a place to lay down and die. Meanwhile, they've got a camera in this person's face as they're dying and filming them. I'm going to put my fingers across part of the cover, but there is, and ends up being what happens to the young lady who these filmmakers get a hold of and assault. Okay, it's vile, it is disgusting. I'm not going to say there's anything redeeming at all about this film. Okay. It is awful. Now, as far as, if you want to hear details about the animal stuff, if you like turtles, do not watch this movie. Do not watch this movie, okay? Because something, a turtle is graphically prepared for eating. There's some sort of a muskrat. It's not really a muskrat. I forget what the technical name of this creature is, killed for eating. Very graphic. Yeah, you got the animal violence staples in there. And what happens is, okay, let me go back to the story, okay? So I'm kind of drowning in the details here. Let me go back to the story. So they start developing this film, and they're seeing this footage, and the producers, I guess you'd say, the people or distributors, whatever, are wanting to make money off this, and they're like talking to this professor, and they're like, look, we want you to narrate and this and that and be involved in this production as it's shown. And he starts thinking, screw that, these people were horrible. I don't want to be part of this project. Okay, he is seeing the film before the department heads or whatever are seeing it, and he's like, I'm telling you guys, this is awful stuff. It shouldn't be aired. And little by little, more and more of the film is being released. And as part of the audience watching this movie, it's kind of like you're there waiting on what the next film is going to have in it. Okay. You're waiting along with the anthropologist and these TV people, wondering what's going to happen. And with every foot of film that gets developed, it starts turning out worse and worse that these filmmakers were horrible, terrible people. Okay. But if you like me, eventually you start rooting for the savages, for these tribes, and hoping, man, somebody's got to stop these people. And of course, that does happen. Okay. The tribes do end up getting their revenge upon the filmmakers, and that, of course, is done just like the rest of the movie, in a very brutal fashion. Camera is not shying away at all from it, at all. It shows the vengeance that's taken on the filmmakers by these tribal peoples. And like I said, be it wrong or whatever, I found myself rooting for these native people, because what these civilized men did, and women, was awful. It's terrible. And so they get their revenge on these filmmakers, and that's why they never made it out of the damn jungle alive. Okay. But their film was recovered. Most of it was developable, if that's a word. Develop worthy? Whatever. Most of it could be turned into regular film. Some of it ended up being ruined by the humidity, according to the story. Now, what's interesting about this film is that the actors in the movie signed a contract in which they would not appear publicly in anything for 1 year following the release of Cannibal Holocaust. Now, that was because the filmmaker himself wanted everybody to believe that this movie was actually found documentary footage. He wanted that sensationalism. He wanted that. He wanted that press coverage. He wanted to make money off of this film. So he wanted that rumor to circulate and get around so that everybody would be wanting to watch this film. Okay. He had a problem with that, though. I believe it was the Italian authorities, after seeing some of the film, really believed that these people were in the jungle and that he might have been responsible for their deaths. He was arrested and charged with murders of these people, of these actors. So these people who had been contracted to shut the hell up and be quiet and remain out of public eye had to come forward to prove that they were still alive. Okay, which he was let off the hook, of course. And the film ended up being released. Sean says it was definitely a hard one to sit through. Yes, it is. And I am not, I don't want to candy coat it, but I don't want to, it's some movie that, I don't know what to tell you. Sean says, yeah, this didn't sit well with the authorities. No, they thought it was authentic. And it does. It does seem realistic. And the circumstances around it, the secrecy that was purposely being carried out to create sensationalism about this film to make people want to see it didn't help with the law either. But the film is graphic. It is violent. It is... There are so many sins committed in this movie, it's not even funny. And I don't want to go through all of them because it would seem like I'm almost justifying them. But yes, this movie is for a very niche audience. Sean says this movie has a lot of animal cruelty as well. Right, it does. And, here's the thing. Here's my opinion. When we're talking about animal cruelty, okay, I myself, I'm not a vegetarian or a vegan or anything like that. Okay, I understand hunting. I understand, I eat meat. I understand using livestock for food and everything else. When I'm talking about animal cruelty, I'm talking about torturing animals just for the sake of torturing animals, just to have to get some sort of kicks out of it. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about animal cruelty, okay? I'm not talking about plainly killing an animal just for food, okay? These movies, okay, have plenty of, I guess you'd say animal cruelty in them. So, I'm just clarifying that, okay? So, if I'm saying, and I myself being a carnivore, am saying that there's some cruel shit to animals being done in here, then there's some rather cruel stuff being done, because it's, the whole movie's in your face. There's sexual assaults, there's primitive violence, there's modern violence. These civilized people are truly the bad guys in this movie, okay? Now, I have not watched all of the extra features on the DVD. My son Vinny watched this with me, and I think, he saw Jungle Holocaust also. Just a little bit of Slave of the Cannibal God. And I believe that Cannibal Holocaust was the final straw for him, okay? And there was no, I did not try to get him to watch it with me. He wanted to watch it because he heard about all these bands and all these countries about the film. So Vinny really had this intrigue into it and really wanted to see the film. So I let him watch it. he's a grown-up, but he came away from the film feeling very angry and not thrilled. The movie did not have a positive impact on him whatsoever. And most people, I do not think it would. I don't think it would have a positive impact. I mean, they're just... Sean says, this movie could not be made today. I agree with that. If somebody made a film like this today, wow, people would be in an uproar. There would be... I don't even imagine how many people would be boycotting these films. Sean says this movie was even banned in Italy. Yeah, which is, where it was produced out of. It wasn't filmed there. I believe it was filmed on location in the Amazon. I'm almost certain. I can't say exactly what part of the Amazon it was filmed in. I'm not sure if it was out of Brazil, I think. But I'm not 100% certain, so I'm not going to claim that. I've watched some of the extras on the DVD, on the extra DVD, but not all of them. And it's been a long time since I watched them. Sean says he would be brought up on animal cruelty charges, for certain. Because the things that take place in this movie are not your standard hunting, okay? In this whole genre, okay, which helped give it such a notoriety. Okay, we're not talking about standard hunting practices and stuff here, okay? That's not the stuff that people are getting upset about, all right? I mean, some of it is just, like I said, it's hurting animals purely to hurt animals, just for a, kind of a sadistic thrill out of it, and that's what makes it awful. Let's see. Hi, Teresa. How we doing, honey? Sean says there are laws today that did not exist back then. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure there are. But yeah, I'm not, what I would say out of, would somebody want to watch this movie? I guess, people, and you might say, well, Paul, you got the damn movie. Why do you have the movie? Well, like many other people, I wanted to see what all the hullabaloo was about, Certainly, I think when I got this movie, I sure as heck didn't have any Fire Stick or anything like that, or know of how to watch it. And I, had to see what it was all about, because for years and years and years and years and years, read about Cannibal Holocaust and the big, stink about it, and had to see what it was. Now I know what it is. So that is a movie that definitely, guys and gals, watch at your own risk, because there's just not a whole lot good to say about the film. Teresa says, sorry I didn't get on here sooner. Sorry, wink. I get you. Love you, Teresa. Sean, love to you, but not in the same way, all right? Sean, what were your impressions from this movie? What did you get out of it? Or what did it take out of you? It's maybe more accurate question. Like I said, I can't really say there's any redeeming values to watching this movie. Unless you say that, it is a look at how modern man or civilized man is not very civilized. And, if you want to go at it from that angle, which is, part of the story. Sean said, I think the director definitely has a twisted mind. Well, from what I read about the making of this film, and from what I've heard from some of the actors in interviews, he definitely was not a sweetheart and did not seem to be. One of the actors said that that the director was sadistic, so and uncaring, especially when it came to the indigenous people he was working with and the Italian actors he was working with. One of the actors said basically he was very cruel to anybody who couldn't talk back to him and couldn't do anything about it. So the Italian actors who gave him any crap, he could just send them back to Italy and get them out of his face. And the native peoples, he didn't have to deal with what they had to say too much because he didn't understand what the hell they were saying anyways. And Teresa says, love you too. But yeah, so is this movie something a person should watch? You know, well, you got to make that decision on your own. Now, but that's what it is. You know, I'm not going to go into every graphic, gruesome bit of detail. I think I've done a pretty good job summing it up. I don't know. What do you think, Sean? Without, you know, I don't want to come off as indulging in the kind of things that were in this film, okay? It's that bad to where, you know, Sean says this movie taught me not to mess with tribes that have not had any human contact. Yeah. Well, and from the story of the film, it sounds like our team of young filmmakers would not have had any real problems with these tribes had they not treated them that way. Sean says, I may not make it back. Yeah, but you know, the way the story plays out, it seems like, you know, these villagers were pretty cool people until these idiot filmmakers backed them in a corner, so to speak, and gave them no way out to where they had to do something, okay? Because these people with their modern guns and stuff were terrorizing them and beyond infringing on their way of life. I mean, they were forcefully doing terrible things to these people. So, but it sounds like everything would have been groovy had they not messed with these people. But they were not getting the footage that they wanted, so they had to kind of like jabbing a stick into a hornet's nest kind of thing. You know, I'm beating it is kind of what they were doing, only in sick and profane ways. Okay. So that's what happened in this movie. Sean, I know you've watched the film. Do you see any reason in watching this movie again? Did you enjoy it for its shock value? I mean, it does have that. It has shock value, if you call that value. Sean says, I don't think I'd want to run up and just smack the chief in the back of the head and then stab one of his elders. No, probably a stupid idea. And these young people were stupid. And they were talked about in the film before all the footage was developed as being prima donnas and stuck on themselves. And it does come through in the film that these people think highly of themselves. They think of themselves as better than these indigenous peoples. They're a real bunch of turds, you know, to put it lightly. That's what you see in this film. And that's pretty much all I can say about this one. Now, as far as where I am going next, what jungle or environment I'm going next for next cannibal film, it's kind of a toss-up because I have a couple films okay, that were made the same year as Cannibal Holocaust. And I'm not sure which one I'm going to watch. So I'm not going to say which movie's next right now because I don't know. So, we'll just, find out. You'll find out tomorrow when I do my review then. Sean says, I don't know if I enjoyed it, but I think it was just too shocking to turn it off. That's kind of fascinating, isn't it? You're watching something, and I'm not making fun, okay? Because I've been there myself with film. You're watching something that is shocking on the senses and uncomfortable, perhaps seemingly almost unbearable, and yet you're still intrigued to the point where you watch more of it. I don't know why that happens, but I've had that happen to myself watching films too. It's a kind of interesting thing to think about. But like I said, I don't know how or why it works like that, but I've had that happen to me watching stuff. I'm trying to see if there's any other pictures on this DVD worth showing. I think I've pretty much, the back of the double case thing just has a picture of the filmmaker there filming somebody dying. And when Vinny and I watched it, even though, like I told Vinny, it's clearly a film, it was made out to be that it was real stuff. And Vinny said, I wonder if some of that stuff actually was real. He was at that point. Sean says, yeah, this movie made The Hills Have Eyes look like an after-school special. Yes, truly, indeed. Definitely. Brutal, in your face. Very hard movie to, you ever hear that old tagline that a lot of horror movies used in the 70s was, keep telling yourself it's only a movie, it's only a movie, it's only a movie, it's only a movie. These film posters for a lot of horror flicks back in the 70s had that line on there, to grab people's attention. And this is one of them movies where I could find somebody actually doing that, saying it's only a movie, it's not real. Is that shocking? So, but, yeah, like I said, I've got a few movies to choose from as far as for the next Cannibal outing. What I'm going to subject myself to next, I'm not 100% certain which film I'm going to choose, but we'll see. Sean says, is The Hills Have Eyes considered a cannibal film? I would say yes. I wouldn't say it falls into the same genre of the movies I'm doing. Teresa says, gotta go, love you. All right, love you too. You have a great day, honey, and I will see you later. Hope everything goes fantastic. She's working. Somebody's got to work. Somebody's got to make money around here. So, yeah, Hills Have Eyes. It's a cannibal movie, but it doesn't fall into the niche genre that I'm talking about this week. This week I'm mainly sticking to the Italian cannibal movies. Okay. Because it's such a clear, the parameters are very tight as to what makes an Italian cannibal movie. I mean, it's Italian, it's a cannibal movie. It's made within a certain time frame. So I think I'm going to stick to that. Sean says it's not even in the same ballpark. Right. It isn't. It isn't. The Hills Have Eyes movies were more your standard horror film. Okay. Whereas these cannibal movies we've been talking about this week are something totally different. Something completely a whole different animal. I mean, you got these movies, they have stories in them. Yes, they do tell stories, but there are so many things just put in there to be a shock on your senses. You know, there's no other reason for some of the violence that's thrown in these movies but to try and turn your stomach. Okay. And like I said before, I've read and heard in interviews with Italian directors that have said that there were certain parts of the Asian market that really liked the animal violent stuff in there. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's what these guys said. Some of them have claimed that the film and footage were put in there even after they've made their film. I don't believe that on some of these movies, though. Sean says the original and remake were both great. It's almost hard for me to decide which one is better. Yes, that's a tough call, and it's even tougher for me, Sean. I have seen the first Hills Have Eyes a lot more than I've seen that remake. Okay, I have seen the remake. However, I believe I've only watched it once. So, and it's been a while, so I'm not going to sit here and make a comparison between the two, okay? Because right now, thinking back on the remake, I can't even really picture the movie too good, so it wouldn't be fair for me to even try and give an opinion on it. I think I enjoyed it, though. I did like the first Hills Have Eyes. I had it on VHS back in the old days, and I ended up getting it on DVD. Okay. I believe I've got a DVD somewhere of the Hills Have Eyes remake. Okay. I think I got it really cheap one time, and that's how I ended up seeing the remake. Was I got it for a really good deal, is what happened. So. But, you know, someday I plan on revisiting those films and maybe watching them back to back if I get a night where I can have some TV time to myself and not worry about the kids walking in and seeing some terrible stuff on the TV screen. Maybe I'll watch them both back to back and do a comparison. If I do that, I'll end up probably running my mouth about it on Wasted Lunch, you know. But yeah, cannibal movies. Yeah, I think, you know, I don't know, but that's what it is. Yeah, Hills Have Eyes is a pretty good movie, which is funny. That was one of Wes Craven's early movies, you know, and Wes Craven's was from Ohio, and the patriarch of the family that ended up out west and stuck out there, I believe they were supposedly from Cleveland, and went out west because they got some kind of silver mine or diamond mine or gem mine or something out there in the middle of the damn desert. They went out there to find, you know, their claim or whatever, and the dad was a cop and retired from the police force. And there's some colorful language used in that movie, in the early one, that you wouldn't hear so much in movies nowadays also. But you know, and didn't they make two new Hills Have Eyes? Didn't they make? I know back in the days there was Hills Have Eyes 1, there was Hills Have Eyes 2, which was made, you know, several years later. Watch both of them. I like the first one better. But out of the remakes, didn't they make two? Didn't they make a Hills Have Eyes 1 and 2 remake? I'm not sure. Straighten me out on this if you can, Sean. But, let's see. I'm just waiting on a reply from you, buddy. But, yeah, you know, it's funny. Let's see. Yeah, okay. They did. Okay. That's what I was wondering. Is, you know, if you want to find out, okay, about the inspiration. Okay, I don't give a crap what some people might say, but the inspiration for a lot of these movies and a lot of these stories about these crazy cannibalistic films comes from one source. Did I like the sequel to the original? Yes, I did like it. I didn't like it as much as the original, though. But the inspiration for 99% of these cannibalistic family movies comes from one source. Okay, either directly or indirectly. And that is the tale of Sawney Bean. Okay? And the Sawney Bean story takes place, oh my gosh, this is terrible, guys. I can't remember if it was Scotland or Ireland. Can't believe I've forgotten it. I think Scotland or wherever. Anyways, about a family that lived in a cave. Was it Ireland? I can't remember now. Sawney Bean, Sawneybean, Bean. Okay? This family, supposedly, I don't know if it was the 1700s in Scotland. Thank you, Sean. Lived there, and through inbreeding, created this mutant family that lived in caves and come out of the caves, and they were in a desolate area this cave was on the coast. Okay, they lived in this cave and would come out and they would attack, okay, wagons and people traveling down this desolate country road out in the middle of nowhere. They would attack them and take all their stuff, grab the people, grab their things. They would eat the people. And they had like a room inside of this cave. This cave had several rooms in it, and one was kind of like their treasure room where they kept all these goodies and stuff from all their victims. See, Sean says they ate over 1,000 people, and all children were products of incest. Yes, the tales say they ate lots of people and eventually were apprehended. They attacked a couple wagons, I guess, with people on them, and one person got away and got authorities, and they came back with like a militia or a military group, and they ended up finding them, flushing them out of the caves, and I believe all of them, according to legend, were executed. From the sources I've read, that they were all put down like animals. Okay, so if that piques your interest, check it out. Google that. Sawney Bean. And I'm sure you'll find all different sources of information about that on the web. Also, I have seen pictures of what some people believe is the actual cave, okay, that these people lived in. It's interesting about the cave that this, if it really happened, not 100% sure. But supposedly this cave, when the tide was high, the entrance to the cave would be completely concealed in water, okay, so that nobody could get in or out of the cave, and it was covered up. And then when it was a low tide, that water would go out, and then you could walk freely in and out of the cave, okay? Sean says it took place in either the 15th or 16th century. That would be the 14th and 1500s. Okay, thank you, Sean. Thank you for the info. Yeah, very intriguing story. Definitely helped inspire Hills Have Eyes, Wrong Turn, possibly Chainsaw Massacre, and all kinds of low-budget movies. There's been so many movies inspired by those movies we just talked about, which were obviously inspired by the Sawney Bean tale. So, Sean says, Paul, that was before you were born. Thank you. Yes, I wasn't around in the 1500s. Thank you, Sean. I'm not quite that old. So I guess I get to feel young. But yeah, that's where a lot of that stuff came from, the tale of Sawney Bean. Oven standard time says 12:55, which means it's about time for me to wrap up the show and get back to doing something productive, I guess. But that was the Cannibal flick for today. Now, tomorrow, like I said, it's going to be a surprise to you and to me. We're going next for our next creepy flesh munching feature. Alright, guys? But wherever I go now, I am armed with this trusty bow that I've got string. Okay. Thanks to the Yanomamo tribe, I now have a bow. And I've got my hair trimmed and my neck shaved. So I want to thank the Yanomamo tribe for that. Sean says a lot of movies were also inspired by Ed Gein. Definitely. And that's a whole nother ball of wax, which, you know, in this weird ass show we'll probably end up talking about someday. Alright, Sean says, have a good day, Paul. Thank you, Sean. You have a good day as well. And anybody else who's watched, I want to say thanks for watching. Thanks for staying tuned. And I'll be back tomorrow talking about another fine film. I don't just talk about films, but this week is Cannibal Week. So that's what I'm doing this week. That's what's going on. And thanks for watching. Whatever you're doing, take care of yourselves. Stay out of trouble. Be good to your brothers and sisters out there in the world. And I'll see you later. Bye.